I spent last week in Vegas, and I got the chance to go see The Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. We all know The Wizard of Oz, the 1939 Victor Fleming film. I'm going to walk you through my experience, tell you what I thought of it, detail some of the extraordinary technological feats of magic in the film and the expansion, some that were lacking, and whether the 16K wraparound visual dream that I experienced is worth the $150 to maybe $300 ticket price. Is this the future of film? Let's talk about it. If you are one of those people that fancies fables, fiction, film, tall tales, and high adventure, please click the like, click subscribe. You'll see me again in the future, and we will continue our storytelling discussion. And if you got ideas of other movies or even bands that should play there, comment below. If you make it all the way to the end, I'll actually mention some of the things that I think they should have there. Now, when you first walk in, there's some pretty gnarly visuals. They had it set up so that it looks a lot more like Kansas when you first walk in, and then when you came out, they totally transformed it by the time you get out, and it's like the Emerald City, and you get to actually interact with the wizard. Very quickly, you'll realize there's so much going on that was never there before, and they're using source material from the original movie, but then expanding it outward using AI. Sometimes they need to use a character that was in the shot and then out of the shot and then in the shot and then keep them in the shot the entire time. The AI very easily made that distinction and was able to continue that character staying on screen. They used what was called a Google DeepMind tech to outpaint, I guess, what was what you would call it, the 4.3 frame that was originally there into a 360-degree environment. The film was reduced from 102 minutes down to 75 minutes, and you're not going to miss any of those scenes that they cut out. They cut out, like, If I Were King of the Forest scene, and I think maybe like another one of the songs in the Emerald City. A couple of the songs in Munchkinland got chopped down, but other than that, you're not going to notice it when you're seeing the movie. They did re-record a lot of the music so that it was a bigger orchestra and had more vocals. And here's the thing, this is probably what everyone's wondering. Does this take away from the original film? Does it look like too much of a new film? No, this actually looks like Victor Fleming's original concept idea vision, and just expanded with the technology that we have today.
This guy, the Wicked Witch of the East. This is the Wicked Witch of the West. And she's worse than the other one. Who killed my sister?
The sound, the music, all seems appropriate, and it seems like it belonged there. And even though like the source material for like the film of, you know, each of the characters, you can kind of tell stuff got moved around and was placed here and placed there. The film is old enough where it's like there's just no way they can make it look real. I had previously done a video talking about seeing U2 there. This experience was much different. The prices, you know, I was looking at them like, I'm going to see a movie that I've seen a million times. Do I really want to pay? My ticket was $170, and that was one of the cheaper ones. They go as high, not quite $300, but they're up near there.
Wasn't he pointing the other way?
Of course, people do go both ways.
You're better off getting the cheapest ticket because they don't really seat anybody off to the side. They have everybody in the middle, and I was just skewed to the right of the middle. I was 3 sections to the right of the exact middle. So the view is good anywhere. I think when they fill up or they sell too many tickets, they're going to push people off to the side. Your seat's going to be fine.
What do you think you're doing?
There's apples that fall from the ceiling. There's dust. There's little pieces of paper that fly about. When they had the tornado, that was probably one of the most physically impressive parts of the film that you got to experience because the entire amphitheater rumbles and you can feel it, and it's pretty intense. Now, they dialed down the expanded imagery before they get to Oz, but then when they enter Oz, it opens up and you see, not only do you get to see this expanded universe or world or whatever you want to call it, but you get to see some really intricate texture and detail of everything there. You'll notice here that they expanded the scene. So originally they follow Dorothy for a second, but now they kind of go off into Oz for a minute to show you all the beautiful colors and all the different vegetation that's there. This is all added. And there's a lot of times where you're like, you've seen the movie a million times. You're like, oh, I've seen this. I know what's going on there. You're not looking at the focal point of the scene. A lot of times you're looking off in the distance. You're looking at the mountains, you're looking at, all the different things, in the sky and the trees that are off, and they are highly, highly detailed. Remember, this is 16K. This isn't even like, 4K, the best TV you can have at home. This is extremely, extremely high definition. And like Munchkinland was wildly impressive, but then when they got to the forest, it was just as impressive because there's so many little things in there in the trees. You can see the texture of the trees. And it's kind of cool when there's like a perspective that they've changed for you where it curves up when you see the Tin Woodman, you're like looking up at him because that's where her point of view is. And they do the same thing when you get to the wizard too. The woods got deeper and a lot more fantastical when you get to where they meet the lion. I was even more impressed. It just, all of the visuals got better and better as you got closer to the Emerald City. It was really impressive how they did that. It's like you can see ants climbing up the side of the tree. And that's just like, I pointed my camera way off to the side. And that's just one little thing you see. And when they get to the poppies, there's things that are falling there. It actually snowed and, it fell on my pants. I was like, what the hell's going on? Is this going to stain my pants? Because it looked like it was white soap that fell everywhere. But when I went to touch it, it kind of just evaporated into nothing. So it disappeared and it didn't stain my clothes, of course. And the wizard is, I would say, probably the most impressive scene. I mean, you have to look up to see him. And he's like, he's almost a completely new character because the original source, he wasn't very clear. It was a very cloudy looking guy that was, covered in smoke. They show the detail of this wizard in high, high definition. And you can see his teeth clearly. You can see the scruff on his face. You can see the pores on his nose or his cheeks. It is really something. I mean, it looks like I'm like, oh, that's what he looked like? Because you wouldn't have been able to tell before. You get to see his face in high definition. It's really impressive.
I am Oz, the great and powerful.
And then when the monkeys come to, there was actually it confused me for a minute because they had all these physical fabricated monkeys that are hanging about. And because it was so dark, I couldn't tell that those were actual things that were there. I thought they were just kind of like things that were floating on the screen. I was like, what'd they do that for? And then the light hit it just right, and you're like, oh, those are actual monkeys that are hanging from the ceiling. The castle itself was really impressive. I mean, it felt like something right out of Lord of the Rings. And then when you come out, it's a whole nother experience. They did a presentation with an actor who was the wizard, and then there's another guy that's behind the curtain, and they interact with the audience. They wouldn't have been able to pre-plan this because they're asking questions of the audience, and the audience is answering, and they're reacting. So these were actors that were under mo capture and responding to those questions. So in closing, I would say, if you can't afford to go see a $200 movie, this is what that is, you might not want to do it, but it really was a great experience. 200, 250, isn't that crazy for this wild experience at the Sphere. If you're one of those people that can't go see a band at the Sphere, this is an alternative to that is great. I recommend it. For me, and this is just kind of like, a pipe dream, but I would love to see Time Bandits there. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon would be unbelievably gorgeous. And then they would never do this, but Pee-wee's Big Adventure, because musically it's fantastic. Pee-wee's Big Adventure would be so wild and fun for me to see that there. I don't think they would do that. They'd have to do something clearly more marketable. You know, musically speaking, they would do something like The Sound of Music, Singing in the Rain. There's a whole bunch of Disney movies they could do, like the old school ones like Pinocchio, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White. Classics would work like Robin Hood. They could do Titanic. Naturally, they could do Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Avatar. Pirates of the Caribbean would actually work pretty good, and it would be across a broad spectrum of fans. I would love to see something like Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. Musically speaking, it would work really well. But the end-all be-all, probably most perfect film for this venue would be Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, just because it bridges so many generations. As far as bands go, I'm going to want to see the Cult there. Are they going to do the Cult? No, they're not going to do the Cult there. Or the Verve. Is the Verve going to get back together for the Sphere? No. So both of those are out. Coldplay would be perfect for the Sphere. Red Hot Chili Peppers would be great. Black Crowes, Smashing Pumpkins, or any one of the big pop acts like Lady Gaga would be fantastic. All in all, this is a window into the future of filmmaking and film experience. I hope they do this with a whole bunch of future films, because this was really cool, and you get to relive the experience. So I don't know if I'd go see it again, but I'm glad I got to see it, and the Sphere is really something else. So every time I go to see something at the Sphere, I'm pretty much blown away. So thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you're a fan of The Wizard of Oz or a fan of storytelling or whatnot, please click the like, click subscribe. You'll get keyed into videos just like this in the future. Thanks.